what time you will get up tomorrow morning, how you'll feel after watching this video. Even if you are going to meet the love of your life. What if I told you something already knows this all? Hold on. This isn't a fortune teller. It isn't a seer. The idea is based on a scientific thought experiment proposed by one of the greatest mathematicians in history. And honestly, when I started looking into it, I thought it was an old story from the history of science. That was wrong. You remember that question we asked earlier? If a mind knew everything in the universe, could it see the future? In this video, we'll answer that question. But where we will land, it's physics and then some free choice, fate, and what it means to be human. Are we really free, or is our whole life a pre-written script? It is the year 1814. Pierre-Simon Laplace, a French mathematician, is working on a book. And in the book, he makes an idea that is just a few paragraphs long. But this idea would trouble philosophers, physicists, and even ordinary people for the next 200 years. Laplace says the following: if there was a mind that knew the position and velocity of every particle in the universe, it would see the past and the future clearly. There would no more be uncertainty. Not that anything was unexpected. You could figure it all out. This was the line of reasoning of Laplace. If we are able to compute small systems, then a powerful enough brain could figure out the whole universe. And it was at that moment when I was doing my research that something dawned on me that sent a chill down my spine. If Laplace is correct, then even the way you're watching this video right now might be destiny. In a way, Laplace's demon, it's like the Google of the universe, but one critical difference, and it can see into the future. But here we come to the point where most videos end, and I think the really interesting part is starting now. It wasn't just a matter of physics, Laplace's idea. It threatened to be one of the great questions of human history: free will. Most of the content is a scientific curiosity in the form of Laplace's demon. We will take a different tack. This story is not about physics at the core. Just think about it. You are in a courtroom. There is a murder trial going on. The defendant is about to be convicted. The door opens just as the verdict is about to be read. Laplace's demon is coming in and states, "I knew the Owens was going to do this crime years ago." The court goes quiet. Then he goes on, because this result was inevitable given all the physical conditions in the universe. And then suddenly, things change. Because if they can't physically do anything else, are they guilty? Wait a minute. It's not just a legal problem. It is a question that goes back to the whole history of mankind, because the same logic applies to you and to me, to each of us. I have a question for you. If the future is determined without a doubt, do we still need to hold people accountable for their actions? Yeah? No? Let us know which side you're on in the comments below. Because we've all been told the same thing since we were kids. Choice shaped the future. But in Laplace's universe, there is no such thing as choice. There is only one outcome. Wait, this is where it gets tricky. Because scientists found something that Laplace didn't see later. Quantum mechanics was born in the early 20th century, and it struck the first blow against Laplace's perfect machine. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle sounds technical, but the idea is extremely simple. The more you know about where a particle is, the more you know its movement, and vice versa. Nature will give you one or the other, but not both at the same time. This is not a technology problem. It's a basic law of nature. Picture the universe as a giant clock. Laplace must have known the precise position of every gear. But then quantum physics walks in the room and says, "Sorry about that. You can't know exactly what some of the gears are." That's when the clock's perfection is broken. If Laplace were alive in this day, he could have walked out in the middle of a quantum physics lecture. But there was something worse: theory of chaos. When I first heard about it, I thought it was a little bit of an exaggeration. Then I looked at the particulars, but I decided against it. Chaos theory states, small variations of the initial conditions can have huge consequences in the long run. 1 millimeter of error, a deviation of 1 centimeter, and years later, an entirely different result. That is why we cannot predict the weather forever. That's why complex systems can spin out of control. So it's not sufficient for Laplace's demon to know everything. It also has to do perfect calculations, and the universe has no room for that. Somewhere there is a small mistake. Then that error compounds and expands, and ultimately the whole prediction is shot. Thus the Laplace's demon has two enemies, uncertainty and the chaos. It keeps it from knowing everything. The other stops it from using what it knows. But now, the good part, 200 years have passed, but we are still asking the same question. Are we really free? Or are we biological machines that have to believe we are free? Today, we do not know the answer to this question. Maybe we never will. But maybe the answer is not the problem. Perhaps the issue is the question itself, because we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. That's why we hope, that's why we're afraid, that's why we plan. And maybe that is what makes life meaningful. If you could know your entire future today, would you really want to know? Next video we will go over an even more dangerous idea. If this video opened your eyes, send to someone who loves to wonder.